Nigeria's exchange rate policy. A tricky game of multiple rates and confusing statements. Nigeria's exchange rate policy is a complex, and often confusing topic that affects the country's economy and its people. The country has multiple exchange rates, and officials issue confusing and contradictory statements, making it difficult for businesses and investors to plan and make decisions. The central bank and finance ministry don't always appear to see eye to eye on how to manage the naira, which is Nigeria's currency. The economic fallout from the pandemic has made the need for clarity all the more pressing. Nigeria is Africa's largest producer of oil, which accounts for more than 90% of foreign exchange earnings. Plunging crude prices, starting in 2014, caused an economic squeeze. Rather than devalue the naira, the central bank in 2017 opted to implement one rate for government transactions, pegged to the US dollar, and a weaker, market-determined rate for investors and exporters. That weaker rate is known as the NAFEX. Other rates were instituted for travelers and small and medium-sized enterprises. The idea was to improve liquidity and encourage dollar inflows. However, the exchange rate policy remains a tricky game, and the choice of exchange rate system is a complex decision that requires careful consideration of the country's specific circumstances. The difference between a fixed, free-float crawling peg, and managed float exchange rate systems, and which is better for Nigeria. Here are the key points. 1. Fixed exchange rate system. In a fixed exchange rate system, the value of a country's currency is fixed to another currency or a basket of currencies. The central bank intervenes in the foreign exchange market to maintain the fixed exchange rate. This system provides stability and predictability for businesses and investors. However, it can be challenging to maintain the fixed rate in the face of economic shocks or imbalances. In a fixed exchange rate system, it's like when you have a special toy that you trade with your friend for a fixed number of candies every time. The value of your toy is fixed to the number of candies you get. The central bank is like the grown-up who makes sure that you and your friend always trade at the same rate. This system provides stability and predictability, just like knowing that you will always get the same number of candies for your toy. This is good for businesses and investors because they can plan and make decisions based on this stable exchange rate. However, it can be challenging to maintain the fixed rate when things change. For example, if suddenly everyone wants more candies and there aren't enough to go around, the grown-up might not be able to keep up with the demand. This can cause problems and make it difficult to maintain the fixed rate. So, while a fixed exchange rate system can be good in some ways, it can also be challenging when things don't go as planned. It's like having a set trade for your toy, but sometimes it's hard to keep up with everyone's candy cravings. 2. Free float exchange rate system. In a free float exchange rate system, the value of a country's currency is determined by market forces of supply and demand. The central bank does not intervene in the foreign exchange market to influence the exchange rate. This system allows for flexibility and adjustment to market conditions. However, it can lead to volatility and uncertainty in the exchange rate, which can impact businesses and investors. In a free-float exchange rate system, the value of a country's currency is determined by market forces of supply and demand. It's like when you trade your toys with your friends, and the number of candies you get depends on how much your friend is willing to give you. The central bank does not intervene in the foreign exchange market to influence the exchange rate, just like how your parents don't interfere with your toy trades. This system allows for flexibility and adjustment to market conditions, just like how you can adjust your toy trades depending on what your friends want. However, it can lead to volatility and uncertainty in the exchange rate, which can impact businesses and investors. It's like how sometimes your friends might not want to trade toys, or they might want more candies than you're willing to give. This can make it difficult to predict how many candies you'll get for your toy, just like how businesses and investors might find it hard to predict the value of a currency in a free-float exchange rate system. 3. Crawling peg exchange rate system. In a crawling peg exchange rate system, the value of a country's currency is adjusted periodically within a predetermined range. The central bank intervenes in the foreign exchange market to manage the exchange rate within the range. This system combines elements of both fixed and floating exchange rates. It provides some stability while allowing for gradual adjustments to market conditions. In a crawling peg exchange rate system, it's like when you have a special toy that you trade with your friend, but the number of candies you get for the toy changes a little bit every time. The value of your toy is adjusted periodically within a certain range. The grown-up who supervises your trades, just like the central bank, makes sure that the number of candies you get stays within that range. This system combines elements of both fixed and floating exchange rates. This system provides some stability, just like knowing that you will always get candies for your toy within a certain range. But it also allows for gradual adjustments to market conditions. It's like how sometimes you might get a few more candies or a few less candies depending on what your friend wants or how many candies are available. So, in a crawling peg exchange rate system, the value of the currency changes a little bit over time, but it stays within a certain range. This helps provide stability while still allowing for some adjustments based on what's happening in the market. 4. Managed float exchange rate system. In a managed float exchange rate system, the central bank intervenes in the foreign exchange market to influence the exchange rate. The central bank may set certain guidelines or targets for the exchange rate but allows for some flexibility. This system provides a balance between stability and market forces. It allows the central bank to respond to economic conditions while avoiding extreme volatility. In a managed float exchange rate system, it's like when you and your friends are playing a game and you have a referee who helps make sure the game is fair. The central bank is like the referee in this system. The central bank intervenes in the foreign exchange market to influence the exchange rate, just like how the referee steps in to make sure everyone is playing by the rules. They may set certain guidelines or targets for the exchange rate, but they also allow for some flexibility. This system provides a balance between stability and market forces, just like how the referee helps maintain fairness in the game while still allowing some freedom for players to make their own decisions. It allows the central bank to respond to economic conditions while avoiding extreme volatility, just like how the referee helps keep the game fair and enjoyable for everyone. So, in a managed float exchange rate system, the central bank acts like a referee to make sure the exchange rate is fair and balanced. They step in when needed but also give some freedom for the market to determine the exchange rate. Which system is better for Nigeria depends on various factors, including the country's economic goals, stability, and external trade dynamics. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, and the choice of exchange rate system is a complex decision that requires careful consideration of the country's specific circumstances. The unification of the exchange rate in Nigeria is a significant economic decision that could have several potential consequences. Here are some of the implications. 1. Economic distortions. The multiple exchange rates in Nigeria have created economic distortions, which have affected businesses and investors. The unification of the exchange rate could help reduce these distortions and provide more clarity and predictability. 2. Impact on foreign debt obligations. The unification of the exchange rate may impact Nigeria's foreign debt obligations. If the unified rate is higher than the previous official rate, it could increase the country's debt burden. 3. Economic development. The establishment of a unified exchange rate in Nigeria holds significant potential for the country's economic development. It could help attract foreign investment, improve liquidity, and encourage dollar inflows. 4. Short-term pain. The unification of the exchange rate could cause short-term pain, as businesses and investors adjust to the new system. The value of the naira could fall, which could lead to inflation and other economic challenges. 5. Improved price discovery. Unifying the exchange rate could lead to improved price discovery, which could help businesses and investors make more informed decisions. In conclusion, the unification of the exchange rate in Nigeria is a complex decision that could have significant implications for the country's economy. While it holds potential for economic development, it could also cause short-term pain and affect Nigeria's foreign debt obligations. The government needs to carefully consider these implications and take steps to manage the transition to a unified exchange rate. To mitigate the impact of exchange rate unification on the Nigerian economy, the government needs to take several measures. Here are some of the steps that could be taken. 1. Economic reforms. The Nigerian government needs to continue implementing economic reforms to improve the country's economic situation. These reforms include diversifying the economy, improving infrastructure, and promoting foreign investment. 2. Clarity and transparency. The government needs to improve clarity and transparency regarding the exchange rate policy. This helps businesses and investors make informed decisions. 3. Fiscal discipline. The government needs to exercise fiscal discipline to ensure that the unification of the exchange rate does not lead to an increase in government spending or debt. 4. Foreign reserves. The government needs to ensure that there are adequate foreign reserves to support the unified exchange rate system. 5. Price stability. The government needs to take measures to maintain price stability and control inflationary pressures that may arise from the unification of the exchange rate. 6. Support for businesses. The government needs to provide support for businesses that may be affected by the unification of the exchange rate. This could include tax breaks, subsidies, or other forms of assistance. In conclusion, the unification of the exchange rate in Nigeria is a significant economic decision that requires careful consideration and planning. The government needs to take measures to mitigate the impact of the unification on the economy, including economic reforms, clarity and transparency, fiscal discipline, foreign reserves, price stability, and support for businesses.